Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here with David today, and we are talking about when you feel trapped. Now, you may not feel like you feel trapped right this second, but hopefully over the next 30 minutes or so, we will help you and all of our listeners to really understand the invisible boundaries and limitations that we place upon ourselves that we don't even notice in the course of our daily lives. And it's especially important this week, and of course this month, this week especially, and with the influence of this month's energy, we're all a little bit Leo right now. We're about to hit the peak of this month, and we're just finishing this typically challenging period where you may have found yourself engaging in old battles with people that you thought were done, or you got over it, or it's not your issue anymore. You may have had different conflicts that now you look back and you say, should I apologize? It's not even my thing. I didn't do anything. Why am I upset about it? That's the vibe right now. And we want to step out of that Leo mindset. No offense to any of our Leo friends, but the same way that the lion is the king of the jungle and the sun is the center of the solar system, we all have a tendency this month to be hyper-focused on the self, being sensitive, taking things personally. What do they think about me? What did I do to deserve this? Like this, our focus is so narrow and intensified on the self. We want to help all of us open up the zoom, open up the lens to see the bigger picture. And those, I don't want to say imaginary, but we'll hopefully understand by the end of the episode, these are imaginary limitations, and we can really break free from them.
It's so powerful. And there's obviously a lot to unpack here with this subject. But a lot of what Kabbalah speaks about, and it's hard for people to wrap their heads around it initially, is that spiritual growth means that we have to adopt spiritual concepts that are often very contradictory, because everything has 2 points of view. It's point of view from the light, what we call from the light of the creator, and the point of view from the vessel. So for example,
from our vantage
point, right? And both aspects of spiritual work must occur because we play both these roles in our lives. We are both the light upon other people. So we both play that role, as we call the masculine role, or the desire to share role.
Or even being the creator in our own lives. We step into that energy.
We step in that energy every time you need to create. That's right.
Awaken.
When a woman is giving birth, she's in the moment of creation. She's actually playing a masculine role, even though we don't associate that, right? Energetically, the Zohar talks about masculine energy now having nothing to do with male energy or men. It has to do with, this is the part of me that now is channeling my divine light and energy. And the feminine energy, equally important, being that which receives and manifests. So I guess giving birth is actually kind of, it's probably the manifestation aspect of it, actually, to be honest. So there's always these two dynamics of our spiritual work, from the light and from the vessel. So another good example of that is we need to believe that we are perfect the way we are and nothing needs to be changed in any given situation. So when a challenge occurs, we teach this in Kabbalah 1, that a person should pause and connect with the light. And by pausing, by restricting your reactive behavior, by not feeding the lack or the pain or the darkness, by not feeding that, you now have affinity of form with the light of the creator, and the light comes in and then miracles occur. But the whole concept of the pause has to do with your essentially saying there is nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with the situation. I'm not missing anything. It is an illusion that this situation is making me feel that I'm trapped or making me feel that I'm missing something. But I'm now going to decide to pause because there's nothing wrong with the situation. And this comes from a famous verse from King David, from Psalms, where he says, "This is the day that the Creator has created, and I will be happy in it, in this day." And so Michael Berg once explained, as he decodified this verse, he said that it's the concept of the Creator created this day, today, and because the Creator created it, it must be good, and therefore I will be happy. Like, that's the choice. The choice of being happy isn't something happened my way, something that I've been working on has now been achieved and therefore I'm happy, it's a higher level of consciousness. I don't care what's happening in my day. The Creator created this day and therefore it's good. And that's where my consciousness is. I don't base my feelings, my emotions, my day on what is happening or not happening. The fact that the day was created means it is good. And this is the high level of consciousness. So we say this all the time. And in fact, when we go out into the world, what do we attract is based on what we feel about ourselves. Like as you're listening to this, what do you feel about yourself? And it's usually a collection of a lot of stuff. It's a collection of what we brought from past life, which is lingering inside of us, trauma for the soul. It's the stuff that we've inherited from our family, friends, and growing up as a wounded child. This energy is with us, so it's affecting what we say, do, and think. And it's affected by like what just even happened this morning. Did you wake up in a bad mood? Did you not get enough sleep? What were the challenges that your soul has designed for today? What are the lacks that you're meant to feel? And so then you start to feel a little bit of anxiety. You start to feel a little bit of stress. You start to feel like you start to overthink and worry about what today will be like or what tomorrow will be like. And then you go out into the world, and this is the vibration. This is the consciousness that is starting to permeate every cell. Like as you move into new auras throughout the day, Kabbalists say we have 88 inches of aura in radius, right? No, radius? Yeah, in radius around us. That means that you are affecting the trillions and trillions of atoms within this 88-inch radius everywhere you go. So you walk into a room, there's new trillions of atoms that are now being affected by your consciousness. And if this consciousness is one of doubt, worry, anxiety, subconscious trauma that I'm not dealing with at this moment, I am not rising above in this moment. So all these atoms become infused with this consciousness. And so this is what the day looks like. And everywhere you go, everybody feels it. Your employees feel it. Your kids feel it. Your colleagues feel it. And this is who we become. So it is so important to believe and realize everywhere you go, even if your life isn't good in your eyes right now, to keep telling yourself, I am missing nothing. I have everything I need right now. As King David said, the Creator created this day, which means it is perfect. Now, that is one point of view. Now, before I continue, do you want to add anything to that?
No, what I think what's really interesting about what you said, I recently heard, I don't remember if I heard or I read it, but everybody who was big on pushing the law of attraction, I don't know how many years ago, 20 years ago, the book The Secret came out, and it was all, the excitement. You just have to visualize the $1 million in the bank and it'll appear. Those same people now are saying, no, we were wrong. It's not enough to wish for something. It's not enough to visualize it. The real secret to that, creating change with our desire, is when you imagine yourself, let's say, free of those issues and those challenges that David was just talking about, the family issues, the burden of the work and needing to show up as, this is who people think I am. I have to maintain that image or that role. When we imagine ourselves living the life that we truly want, which may be very different from what it is right now, the reason it works, or the reason we can start to manifest those things, is because we change our vibration.
Correct.
Those atoms, it's not that the Creator says, oh, you want something here. We know that it's quite the opposite, that it doesn't come to us easily. When I say I want $1 million in the bank, the universe goes into action, creating the opportunities for me to spiritually earn that desire.
And let's be very clear. Even the fact that you wanted $1 million, whatever desire comes to you is a desire that the Creator put into you because it is meant to be revealed. And there is a difference of, fleeting thoughts that come by and true desire. Desire is something that no matter how much you push it away or you restrict, it still beckons to be fulfilled. And a lot of people say they want something, and then as soon as you present them with a plan of how to achieve it, they push away, they back away, because it's not a real desire as well. So I think it's also important to know that these desires are also coming from the Creator. Even the desires you think that aren't so positive or seem like, well, this is actually kind of negative. How can I even want something like this? Or maybe it's a forbidden desire to you at that moment in time. Even those desires are coming from the Creator, and they want to be fulfilled. They want to be fulfilled. But the secret of how you fulfill those desires is to believe that those desires are already fulfilled.
Right. But that the aha moment, like I was impressed or excited by that revelation because it's like the confirmation of what we're saying. It's not enough to just say, I want it. But when you start to visualize it and you start to know, not wish, but know it's already fulfilled, those 88 inches vibrate differently.
That's correct.
They're at a different frequency that actually changes the molecular structure of the world around you. And that, we always say science is now catching up to the teachings of Kabbalah. It's another example of how when you have a mantra or an affirmation, or you have a visualization or a meditation practice, you literally start to open up the physical roads to create that reality. And I think part of, and maybe we'll get to it, but part of the creation of those or the fulfillment of those desires is also the releasing of those beliefs that I can't or I shouldn't, or what are people going to think of me, right? Like sometimes you can want something deeply and sincerely and at the same time have another conflicting desire that says, I don't want to take responsibility for that, or I don't want to have I don't want to be vulnerable and have people know that that's a part of me, even though I really deeply want it.
That's right. That's right. Now, let's go back to what we were saying before, which is, and the whole week's energy has to do with this idea that we all feel something inside of ourselves that needs to be revealed, that we want. But the fact that we believe this is something that is going to come from the outside, this belief system is the very thing that is pushing it away. So I'll say that again. Most likely, any desire that you have right now that is unfulfilled, any pain that you feel you have, you also believe something needs to happen from the outside to fulfill you, to take away this pain, right? There's some kind of decision that needs to be made. Someone has to come into your life for this pain to go away. Someone needs to apologize to you. Something needs to be achieved by you, maybe. All of this is still external. Even you achieving something is an external thing. And what the Kabbalists are saying is, hey, look, you have to resolve this consciousness inside of you first. And you resolve it by believing it is already resolved. That's the secret. That's the punchline already. Mm-hmm. And then you give permission to the universe to flow inside of you because you no longer are the effect. You now become the cause. So the whole universe is allowed to come in and out of your life and flow through you. But when you believe, and this is really important because I know as I'm saying this, it's like people are like, all right, I get it. And then I lost it. So if you believe that something from the outside is what is going to solve your problem, something is going to happen at the right time, in the right way, and you will now feel differently, this belief system is the very thing that is delaying it from happening. We have to believe that this light has already been revealed, because it has, because from the point of view of the Creator, all the miracles have been revealed, my fulfillment has been revealed, my unborn children are born right now. It says like on the day a person gets married, the time and space is removed. Time, space, and motion is removed because it is the union of what's called Zer and Pin and Malchut. So when the upper, and it's the union of the upper and lower worlds, and during the time of a marriage ceremony, And that means that negativity is removed, which means time is removed. So technically, at the moment of marriage, it's the removal of time, space, and motion. So the past, present, and future is totally removed. You're just connecting to all the fulfillment that will ever be. So it says that all your unborn children, all the prosperity, everything is actually there in that moment. It's being revealed. Now, we don't see it because we still live in a state of limitation. But if you could believe like every day was your wedding, and that's subconsciously why people prepare for it so much. It's like subconsciously people do a lot to prepare their vessel, both physically and spiritually, because they know that it's a vessel that they're building to reveal this light. It's a very deep concept. But we are all so limited by concepts of time. So there's concepts of society telling us what to do, religion telling us what to do, Kabbalah telling us what to do, you and I telling people what to do. This is also a limitation. You are being limited by the very fact that you're listening to this podcast because you're creating new rules by what we're saying. So on one hand, you need to listen and say everything they're saying is true and everything they're saying is not true. From the point of view of the light, you are perfect the way you are. You don't even need this podcast. From now, we haven't even talked about the other point of view yet, but I want us to really get clear about the point of view that we need to accept and habitate in, which is in every situation in your life, you have to first believe that you do not need to fulfill it because it is already fulfilled. You do not need to listen to this podcast because you already have this information. You already have this wisdom. It's already inside of you. Why would you waste your time for the 30 or 40 minutes to listen to us when you already have it? This is a big secret. The Rav used to say when he wanted to know what's happening in the world, he would turn off the news. And it's a very deep secret because we think we need to listen to the news to have. He said he would restrict the news and it would reveal to him whatever the creator wanted him to know about the world would be revealed in his mind.
By the way, that's why when people listen to this podcast, they say it's exactly what's happening in my life. That's the explanation because it's something you are living it already. The fact that maybe you hear something that brings it to the forefront of your awareness, that's something else.
Right.
But even if you don't hear the episode of the week, you're living it.
100%. Now, so what are we saying? We're saying do nothing. We're saying just sit there and believe that everything is already done. You would be shocked at just how difficult it is just to achieve this consciousness alone. There's a lot of work just to get to this consciousness. But what's fascinating is when you get to this place where you realize you don't need to hear this podcast. You don't need anything. When you get to that consciousness, then a new consciousness is born inside of you. This is the new vessel. This is what we call a connection to the light of the creator because this is called the circular vessel, the transformed vessel. The vessel that is called the desire to receive for the sake of sharing. There's all these concepts that we learn in 10 luminous emanations that I know we don't go too deep on these podcasts, but I think it's important to mention them. Like this book that just actually finally came out after decades. So we finally published this book. It's been translated for 20 years. It just needed to be edited and it took 20 years to do so. What's it called? The Origins of Consciousness. The Origins of Consciousness, which is another name for the 10 Luminous Emanations Volume 1. It's finally translated into English with Michael Berg's commentary. And if you want to learn the deepest understanding that science is just catching up to of how our universe was created, how the soul was created, and why we are here, this is the book to connect with, The Origins of Consciousness. And so going back to it, realizing that the first step to achieving complete freedom, you are not trapped. You are not trapped. You feel trapped, but this is the feeling you have because of consciousness that hasn't fully been developed yet. When you realize that you can feel however you want at any moment, including at this exact moment, and that the highest vibration of feeling is I've already achieved this desire that I want. I've already achieved it. Now, everything opens up for you. A new vessel is born, a new consciousness, a new desire. What's the opposite of this? What's the flip side of this that we also need to learn, which is equally hard? It is Now that I have everything, well, why am I even alive? There's no reason to live. Might as well die because I've already achieved everything. Now I live because I am meant to reveal things in this world, not for me, but they are meant to be revealed. Like this glass of water is meant to be revealed. Otherwise, it stays in a state of potential. I am going to move my hand, pick up the glass, and drink it because I'm doing it a favor. I'm doing the world a favor by revealing the light from this water. And for whatever reason, I was meant to do it because it's here in front of me. And this is the consciousness you go out into the world with. Even the relationships you have, or the kids that you have, or the businesses that you start, everything that you do now with a new consciousness, a new vessel, which is, I'm here to reveal it. What's in Hebrew, it's called lishma, for this higher. It's not for me. It's not because I'm needy of it. And it's not because I feel trapped or whatever. Like, people do things for those reasons.
We have to break this down to something more practical, because everything you said so far is internal. And I think for most of us, the challenges that we experience are mostly external. They feel external.
Right.
So when your boss is demanding X, Y, and Z, or you have the bills to pay, or you need to decide where you're spending the holiday, at your house or your in-laws' house, like there's these pushes and pulls.
It's very easy to feel that it's an external problem.
So I'm saying, but maybe we can tackle some practical examples.
When you don't know what to order off of a menu, and you have 3 options, and actually, I take the fish? Do I take the meat? Do I do the vegetarian option? And all 3 of them look amazing, because you look to your right and you see the table having each 3 of those dishes, and they look phenomenal. What do you choose at that moment? But it is already known which dish is meant to be revealed by your stomach. It is already known. So why do we have the problem of choosing between the 3 if it's already known that, I don't know, maybe it's the chicken? It's already known. The creator already knows. Since the time of creation, you're going to eat that chicken. So how come you don't know and you think you have a choice? Mm-hmm. But my point is, it's not an external problem. And it's what you're saying. It's an internal consciousness. So actually, you just need to shift your consciousness and it will be revealed that it's the chicken. So how do you shift your consciousness?
So that's when you order the fish and they tell you, sorry, we're out of fish. Would you like the chicken instead?
Well, even before that, you see, we then think that it's being solved by the waiter telling me that there is no fish. It is actually at that moment saying, I don't need to eat anything. None of this needs to be eaten. In fact, I don't need to eat at all. Your body doesn't actually need the food. So why are you at this restaurant? Why this restaurant? Why anything? So you say no food needs to be eaten. And it's amazing, because as soon as you decide not to eat any of that food because you don't want to be a taker, there's nothing missing inside of you. So why would you need to eat? A new consciousness will be revealed that will tell you it's the chicken. How that happens, I don't know. But you got to go through that process of, I don't need, but I'm here for a reason. The creator brought me to this restaurant. I'm here to reveal sparks. That's part of that's part of the earning the light to be in this world. So.
Practical.
Okay.
I met with someone not long ago who shared with me that she brought some of her family to the U.S. Mm-hmm. and she footed the bill.
Okay.
And she's continuing to foot the bill.
Foot the bill for everything?
Supplementing, let's say, not everything, but helping with rent, helping with different expenses.
Yeah.
And on one hand, she feels extremely taken advantage of and resentful and angry.
Yep.
And she holds her breath every time she talks to them. Like,
how many family members is it?
2.
Okay.
And on the other hand, she was raised with, you have to take care of your family. You have to love your family. You have to be kind and good and generous.
Yep.
And at the same time, that mentality has trapped her in a web of misery.
Okay, so what's making her feel trapped? What does she think is making her feel trapped versus what's really making her feel trapped?
She doesn't have a choice. The perception that she does not have a choice.
Perception that she does not have a choice. So she has 2 cultural belief systems that are converging on one, which is you got to take care of your family. And there's another part of her that's probably There's a part of her that is maybe a rescuer.
Look, the fact that she is able to, right? Like she can't say no. She's financially secure enough to be able to offer
So there's
help.
another belief system, which means if you have it, you must share it, right? So there's
not sharing would be selfish.
Not sharing is selfish, right? So there's all, and by the way, we might have said that on a podcast. So she probably heard a podcast and said, well, not sharing is selfish. I better pay for them. So here's the point. The point is she's taking all of this external wisdom and belief systems, and
which, by the way, can be coupled with tikkun. We spoke about in the last few episodes. Right. You have a whole set of suitcases you bring from previous lifetimes that you end up unpacking as you
They are all converging.
Up.
They are now all converging, and it's one big soup. It's a soup of my past life tikkun, my past life correction, my past life baggage.
Absolutely.
Some belief systems I picked up maybe at the Kabbalah Centre. Some belief systems I picked up from some, other gurus. And here it is. And now I'm in this soup. I'm eating this soup of consciousness. But the main issue here is what? The main issue here is that instead of making a choice, her society is choosing for her. Her spiritual path is choosing for her. Her tikkun is choosing for her. As Rav Berg would always say, we are all robotic. We are not even making choices. And you think you're making a choice. You think you built this. You think you chose that. You think you chose this relationship. But your baggage, your tikkun chose all of it. You really didn't actually take a moment to choose. The only time we start to choose is when you pause. And by pausing, we mean, hey, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to take care of my family. I don't need to be a giver. I don't need to do anything. Because most likely you've been a giver for 20 years to fill some kind of hole, some kind of guilt or some kind of shame that you might have brought from a past life. Past life, you might have hurt 7 children. Maybe, and I've heard these stories, maybe past life, you weren't paying attention and you hit a car and you killed some people, and one of them was a child. I don't know why I said that. This is an example that just comes.
I'm sure we're going to get emails from people that's happened to, saying, "How did we pick it?"
I know somebody who went on, changed her whole life trajectory to be giving back to the world because she got in an accident and she killed someone, and one of them was a child, and she couldn't let it down. So the point is, everything now she creates that is coming from that guilt and that fear, although it seems like it's a good thing, that this guilt and fear is pushing them now to be charitable, to start foundations and awareness, it's still not a choice. It's still being chosen by her. The guilt is choosing to build a charity. The guilt is choosing to support the family. The guilt and the fear and all this stuff is choosing to be a giver, so it's not real giving. So you're going to have to come back next life to fix it again.
That's scary.
When do we choose? When do we choose? When we choose is when we slow everything down and say, I don't need to choose. I don't need to choose. Everything is done. Everything is corrected the way it is. Now that I don't need to, what am I meant to? Go from need to meant to. That's the shift in consciousness that is aligned with the light of the Creator. And ultimately, when everybody stops doing things from the lack and the fear and the external pressures, and even what Kabbalah says, this is why all religion and spirituality, including us, and we have to be conscious of this, is that we teach people, or we're teaching, and every part of us wants people to listen and change, but because then I start feeling better. Because when do you feel good? When somebody messages you and say, I just want you to know, this thing changed my life. And then all of a sudden you feel good. And what, 10 minutes ago you didn't feel good? So it's very hard. We are all kind of, and then we say, well, you know what? I'm more motivated now to give another podcast. I'm more motivated now to teach another class because look at the impact it's making. But even this is not a choice. Why? I'm giving a class because all these people liked it and now they like me for it. So I'm going to give a class. It's not a choice. This is also reactive. It's also coming from a place of, I'm going to have more validation because I don't feel validated. So this is a very vicious, this whole world is actually beautifully designed for us to not fall into it. But it happens every day. It happens to you and I. Every moment. And even as I'm talking, I realize, wow, this whole day has been reactive. This whole day was never really a choice. So it was one effect after the other. So let's summarize this concept. The concept is pause. Goes back to the basics that we were taught 30 years ago by our teacher, who has infinite wisdom and one of the most spiritual people to ever walk the earth. But he always kept his lectures very simple. He said, guys, just a restriction, just pause. Everything will work out. This word pause is so deep. Why am I pausing? Because I don't need to even move. I don't need to do a damn thing right now. And now you've entered the matrix. You've entered a new portal of energy. You are now connected to the light of the Creator. And what happens after that, we don't know, but that's the best part. We're not trying to figure it out. By the way, if you can figure out what's going to happen, it means you're still disconnected. It means that you're still the effect. You're still the effect. You're not, I'm going to figure it out. It's not really from the light of the, you're not really a channel of the light. When you're a channel, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow because you're getting fresh information all the time.
Well, I think that whole, the upbringing and the way things are supposed to be and the rules we create for ourselves are there to give us a sense of control. That's right. There's definitely an aspect of, there's certain rules we have that also protect us, right? We're not talking about the ones, not crossing an 8-lane highway. And there's certain rules that obviously are in place to protect us and for our benefit. Sure. But there's so many rules that we have that keep us miserable and stuck and not fully living our essence or fulfillment. So I think one of the great opportunities of this week is to really stop, pause appropriately, and ask yourself even every 15, 20 minutes, what am I doing right now? And what rules do I have about this? You may have, maybe your summer, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, tends to be a more flexible, easygoing, season in our lives. So we're not necessarily in the same routine as the rest of the year, but that provides an even better opportunity to take pause and step aside and say, what rules do I have about my house, about my family, about how I need to show up at work, about what's responsible, about what is appropriate? There's so many self-imposed rules that we put on ourselves that are actually the cause of our misery. And we may say, okay, never do this on the first date. Maybe that comes from experience. Maybe that comes from, you went to a relationship coach that gave you the 5 rules to a successful date. Ask yourself, does that work for me? Does it resonate with me? Is it carrying me toward a better version of me, a more fulfilled version of me? Is it aligned with me? Maybe it goes against everything I believe, but someone told me to do it, so I got to do it this way. Or this is how we do it in the company that I work for. If it doesn't feel right, challenge it. There's no other way.
I know we're coming to the end here of the podcast, but you just brought up a concept that I want to pick up again next week. Right? Next week we're together? You and I?
We are.
Okay, so next week is it's a portion from the Old Testament. It's Re'eh, so it's all about the vision, the ability to see. And I would like to unpack this more because today we've kind of talked about that first stage of not being limited by the external world and actually reclaiming our free will. You feel trapped when you feel like you're not making choices. Right.
It's like activating that inner compass.
We want to activate that power. And I think next week I want to get into it more. Because when are the rules good and when are the rules limiting? And I'll end with just this one quote that I got from one of my mentors that I hold today. He said, be relentless and uncompromising about your vision, but be flexible, malleable with how you get there. The details of how you get there. So on one hand, we need the rules, but you better be ready to cast away the rules and to be flexible. And this is what a real leader is about. And it's about us being real leaders in our own lives. But we'll save that for next week.
Awesome. Sounds good. Can't wait now. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can visit our webpage, weeklyenergyboost.com, where you can find out, maybe put the link to that book that David mentioned, The Origins of Consciousness, as well as all the other things we've been talking about in the last few episodes. If you want to reach out to us, you can do that through our website, through social media. We always love to hear what's working for you, what you're interested in. And As always, please continue to like, to rate, review, and of course, most importantly, share. And we look forward to sharing with you more next week, continuing this conversation. Have a fabulous one, and we'll see you next time on the Weekly Energy Boost.